can't let the ball over our head. That's pretty straightforward, you know. And, you know, you got to be a good tackling team. You know, they had a couple of explosive runs where backs are really good players. You know, they can run through contact. So we have to do a good job of capping it. And in the pass game, we've got to do a good job of tackling the run game. You know, easier said than done.
What was your emphasis with the defense over the bye week?
We just need to get better, you know, for us, you know, and in a season and in every game, you know, it comes down to a couple of plays. Like a couple of plays, you can play really good defense or you can play really bad defense, you know, and it changes in those couple of plays. And being able to keep a level head and just keep playing the next play, that's where we need to continue to improve. I think effort is not an issue. Guys are flying around. Like I like their mentality on the sideline. Like they're good, they're in the gate, but you know, not to be cliche, you just don't know which play is going to be the one that's the difference, and so you have to be locked in for the entire game. You know, when you go into this game, you know, understanding that, hey, listen, that gets magnified when you're tired. You know, when you get tired, you know, that's when your brain, hey, maybe this is the play. I don't have to go quite as hard. Maybe the play won't come at me. Maybe I'll just try to just do enough to get my job done, and then somebody else will make a play, and then I'll be ready for the next. Like, you can't. I mean, this could be the play that it's your time to make the sack, your time to make the PVU, your time, right, to take on a double team, hold it firm so someone else can make it and not get blown out of the gap. Like this, you don't know. So when your feet are on the grass in between the white lines, you have to just freaking play with everything you got left in your tank for that play, and then you got to do it again. And then you get to a point where we as coaches see your tank is dry when you put someone else in.
Have you done things conditioning-wise more this week to be ready for if guys aren't able to get subbed in and out?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just long-term conditioning. I think it's not just running gassers, because if you look, you know, at the length of drives, you know, that we've played over the last 2 years, probably averages right in about the 2-minute range. You know, no drives really gone over 4 minutes. I think we've had one that maybe went 4 minutes and 38 seconds, and it was a 15-play drive. And that only took 4 minutes and 38. Most drives, if you go down the drive charts, it's a minute 38. It's a minute, like, so listen, you're going to get a lot of plays in those minutes, but you've got to strain, you know, at a sprinter's pace, you know, for that distance, you know, for that amount of time, you know, for 2 minutes is kind of what we're thinking.
You talked a couple of weeks about how important De'Aaron is to this defense, even though he doesn't always get the attention. It's still pretty quiet with us. How did you all get him to come out of his shell to take on this kind of leadership in that whole world?
It's a huge testament to him, because as much as, you know, you can poke and prod somebody to bring, like, you have to have this sort of the fortitude, like, inside of you to draw that out and come out of your comfort zone. But like anything else, we have little things, you know, you try to make them, you know, especially new freshmen. When he was a freshman, he said, Coach Summerall did a great job. He had to go down the hallway and say hi to every coach on the hallway, whether he knew them or not, right? Whether he was comfortable with them or not. And it's just getting used to being uncomfortable, having a conversation with somebody that you don't, and then you start drawing it from there, and then putting them, you know, in front of the room. Hey, you break down the defense. Hey, you stand up and you lead it. Here, I'm going to put the clicker in your hand. You lead the meeting. Like those kind of things, to where, you know, initially it's nerve-wracking. You know, it's no different than any public speaking class that most people took in college. You're like, I'm not a public speaker. Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to face your fear and sort of push through it, and he's done that.
It's the same offense this year, but different names, different personnel a little bit for them. Who's kind of jumped out off that film at you? And
well, obviously, all the running backs are extremely talented. They're back. They've got the ability to, we talked about, run through tackles. They make, you know, great reads to be able to come out the back door. They're jump cutters. They rolled over the back of, you know, 2 last year on us. So incredible balance. Obviously Squirrel is sort of having a really good year for them, and sort of the trigger man in the pass game for them. And obviously Milton, the whole thing runs through him. He's the trigger guy, and obviously everybody knows about his arm strength, but you saw in Bama his ability to run, is a huge factor that you have to take into account. So it's the reason they're still explosive. It's the reason they're putting up a ton of points. Sort of same deal, different names, and we'll see.
I was just curious, Brian, from a coach's perspective, when a team holds like a players-only meeting during tough times, do you ever notice anything just different about how they're approaching the field every day, whether it's studying film? Do you ever notice anything that sort of changes after those?
Yeah, that's the goal, right? When you have a players-only meeting, and the interesting thing is a players-only meeting doesn't have to be like everybody thinks it's like some dire strait. It's not, right? It's course correction, and it can happen in good times if you feel things are getting loose and complacent. Sometimes you need a course correction. So, but no different than if you're punishing your kids, right? What you hope is it becomes a habit, and it's not just, oh, you know what, for a week they'll clean their room, or they'll do right for a couple of days and it goes back. What you're looking for is it to become something that's habitual, that they're doing right. And so that's kind of what you hope comes out of any kind of meeting like that, especially a players only. But whether it's a coach on player one-on-one meeting, and you want to see change in that behavior for that course correction. A lot of it doesn't have to be drastic, but it has to be something that's significant enough to alter the outcome of what we're searching for.
Segueing off doing everything right. This being a rivalry game, where is the line somewhere with certain players, maybe not the whole team, where you say, hey, just go out and make plays?
Trying to say that again?
You want to stay fundamentally, but just go out and make plays. I've heard you say that. You tell players.
Yeah. There's no doubt. At the end of the day, you got to cut loose. I don't know if just because it's a rivalry game or it's like, it's because of the opponent. That doesn't change, right? The thing that you would like to happen is in big games. I got this from Bruce Arian. He always said, hey, listen, when you're in those big games, you're playing the top teams in the league. Like, that's where you need your stars to shine, so obviously those guys that you lean heavily on to be playmakers, they need to make plays, but they can't make them out of the realm of what we're trying to get done from a defensive standpoint, because if they break scheme, that's when a big play can happen.
You're trying to find out what
Yeah. When you find it, you just let me know.
The game 2 years ago, it became apparent quick it was going to be, shootout. It was pretty explosive quickly. What does it take as a defensive coordinator to, slow down, get your guys reeled back in? If there are a couple early touchdowns and it's like, okay, we're not just going to give in that it's going to be a shootout and try to reel that back in.
Yeah. Man, you guys just love to dig up bad memories. Hey, here's the deal. Like, you never want to be in a situation where you're giving up a ton of points. But at the end of the day, it's about making the stop that you need to make to help your team. 2 years ago in 21, they had the 2 touchdowns in 4 plays, right? They had the first play, and then we get them to 3rd and long and then they hit another one. So it's 75 yards and then 72 yards, those 2 plays. Then, we get it called, like they hit the next series, we stop them on the first play, and then they hit the big chunk. And it's like, everybody's freaking out. 2 plays later, we force a fumble that kind of curbed it there. And then the offense had a really nice sort of series, and you're up 21-14 and you're feeling good, and you got them back on 3rd and 18. They throw a screen and they get it to 4th and 4. If we can get that screen down for 8 and it's 4th and 10, they're punting, and we're giving it to our offense in a 2-minute drill. Instead, it's 4th and 4. We get the PI on the bang bang play, and they end up scoring 2 plays later, so, or maybe 1 play. So things can happen that fast. They can change. Like it felt at that moment, like it felt like we had sort of damned it. But
Okay, folks, thank you very much.
we did.
Appreciate
Can I ask one more?
One more.
One more real quick. This is kind of a general question. Is the whole concept of halftime adjustments overrated? I've heard some coaches say there's really not enough time, or it's not you don't want to like change your whole game plan at halftime. Is it? How do you feel about that? Or can you make major
If you make any
adjustments?
adjustments that work, that was really good. If you make no, I think the key, it's everybody just pinpoints halftime because it's the biggest break. I think adjustments have to be made throughout the entire game. Now, obviously, you have a little bit more time to just take a breath and have more of a collective thought process as a staff, right, in the locker room. But adjustments need to happen throughout the game.